The wind rolled over the desert like a slow, ancient sigh carrying dust across the wooden boards of the cabin where Elias Crow had spent years hiding his shame. His shame was not a crime nor a secret fortune, nor a past he fled from. It was his daughter, Lyria, born with snow-white hair, moon-pale skin and eyes like morning frost. She carried the unmistakable markers of albinism, but in the rough western frontier, where superstition beat louder than reason, Elias could not bear the stares, the whispers, or the judgment of men who claimed her unnatural. Lyria, for all her gentleness, never understood why her father kept her indoors, why she could only play when the sun was low, why she had to avert her gaze whenever a stranger passed by the house. Elias told himself it was to protect her, but in truth, every time he looked at her, he saw the reflection of his own pride cracking. How could a rancher known for strength, grit, and lineage produce a child so delicate, so otherworldly? Instead of embracing her, he shrank deeper into bitterness. And as debts stacked against him like storm clouds ready to burst, a wicked thought rooted itself in the corners of his mind. Perhaps she could be traded. Not for gold, not for cattle, but for survival. When the mountain man arrived, towering on a horse the color of night, Elias saw opportunity. Thorn Maddock was known across the territory as a quiet brute, a solitary figure who lived among the peaks where the air thinned, and the world felt empty. His reputation preceded him. He had strength like a bear, silence like a wolf, and eyes that saw deeper than most men dared. Rumor said he purchased supplies with raw gems he mined himself. Rumor also said he preferred the company of mountains over people. Elias, desperate and drowning in debt, believed he'd found someone who would take Lyria far enough away that he'd never have to face her again, or face his own cowardice. When Thorn stepped into the cabin, ducking beneath the frame, Lyria lifted her head from the corner where she sat sewing a torn sleeve. The moment their eyes met, something stilled in the room. Thorn did not flinch. He did not grimace. He did not recoil like the others had. Instead, he looked at her the way a traveler looks at a sunrise after weeks of darkness, slowly, reverently, with recognition of beauty no one else had the vision to see. Elias cleared his throat, masking discomfort with false urgency. "I ain't hiding what she is," he muttered. "You see her. Pale as winter, hair like frost, fragile as glass. But she's quiet. Works hard. Won't cause trouble." He expected Thorn to hesitate, to ask why Elias wanted to give up his own flesh and blood. But Thorn only stepped closer to Lyria, lowering himself to her level. "What's your name?" he asked, voice deep as thunder rolling across stone. "Lyria," she whispered. "It means lyric," Elias snapped as if embarrassed by the softness. Thorn didn't look at him again, not once. His focus was solely on her. "Lyria," Thorn repeated softly, almost tasting the name. "You're not what they say." She blinked, confused. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever spoken to her much at all. When Elias finally produced the papers that reduced his daughter to a transaction, Thorn did not ask why. He did not negotiate. He did not even blink. He simply signed, lifted Lyria's small satchel, and extended a hand for her to follow. She stared between the two men, fear and hope warring in her chest. "Papa," she whispered. Elias looked away. "Go on, girl. You'll be better off." But he said it without looking, without emotion, without the courage to face the damage he'd done. Lyria's heart fractured in a way no child should experience. Yet she felt something strange tugging her steps, something new, unexplainable, glowing faintly like the first flicker of destiny. Thorn walked outside with her at his side, placing his hat gently over her pale hair to shield her from the sun. She had never felt so seen, so protected. Elias stood in the doorway, watching the silhouette of the mountain man and the daughter he had rejected fade into the sweeping desert horizon, never realizing he had just sold not a burden, not a flaw, but a girl destined to become a goddess in the eyes of the man who understood her worth better than her own father. And as the dust settled behind the departing horse, the world shifted for Lyria most of all, but also for the man who had just traded away the only truly pure thing in his life. If you want, say continue chapter 1 and I'll write the next 4,000 plus. Words in Thorn Maddock did not speak much during the long journey into the mountains, but Lyria felt no fear. His silence was different from her father's. It was not cold, nor cruel, nor dripping with disappointment. It was steady, sheltering like the hush beneath towering pines. As they ascended rugged slopes and crossed roaring rivers, she sensed that the wilderness itself bowed to Thorn. Animals appeared on the ridges only to watch him pass. Winds shifted as though greeting an old friend. Even the shadows seemed to respect him. And for the first time in her life, Lyria did not feel like something to be hidden. She felt like she belonged in this wild, untamed world, as if the mountains recognized her pale skin and silver eyes not as curses, but as rare gifts reflecting moonlight. In a land shaped by sun and stone, Thorn's cabin stood near the highest lake, a mirrored pool so clear she could see clouds drifting upon its surface, even when the sky was still. He helped her down from the horse, watching her carefully, never with pity, never with disgust, but with a quiet sort of wonder. "This is home," he said, and Lyria realized he meant for both of them. He made space for her immediately, placing furs near the warmest part of the hearth, preparing food without being asked, and handing her carved wooden trinkets he made long ago. She clutched them as though they